Welcome back to yet another delayed episode of Crystal, and we're going to be starting off this one with some trading shenanigans. Shenanigans might be putting it a little more heavily than it really needs to be, but I need to do some back and forth between a couple games, and I could have just done all this off screen, but I also have a couple bios to do that are going to be from stuff gained through this, so I figure I'll just do those over it. So there's not going to be any spoilers involved. I've caught the Remoraid already in gold. I need to send that over, and I need to evolve my Seadra, Debbie. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of back and forth. But I also mentioned in a previous segment that I wanted to teach Debbie Ice Beam. I do have the ability to do that in this game, but it is kind of an awkward method. I don't remember exactly how it works. There's some guy that can teach you the moves in Goldenrod City, but I think they're kind of like, there's like prerequisites. I don't remember. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm actually going to be sending up a Pokemon from Yellow version that I don't have in the Pokedex in this one yet, but we're not going to count that towards the collection because I'm just going to catch it again later. I have a specific reason for wanting to do that one, and it'll be apparent in a little while. So let's just go ahead and start this whole process, and I guess I'm going to be doing post over this. Let me just make sure that it actually gets set up properly here. It's always awkward when connecting a Gen 1 game on a GBA to a Gen 2 game on a GameCube. It's just kind of like unusual. I like how that's required. Okay, so can we get this initiated then? Let's see. Yeah, this should work no problem. So yeah, we're going to be doing a Snorlax trade. I have like my pile of Magnemites. They're compatible with Gen 1, so I picked them.
Meanwhile... Back in town...
At first glance, Remoraid appears to be a pretty generic fish. It's not very brightly colored or interestingly designed overall, and it's just a plain water type, and there's plenty of those in the first two generations, so most people probably skipped over this one. And it also doesn't help that it's pretty rare, because it's not in Crystal at all, and in Gold and Silver it could only be found by fishing on that one route with either with the Super Rod or with a Swarm going. So not really a popular pick, I'm guessing, in most cases. And that's a shame, because it's actually a pretty cool Pokemon. As far as fish go, it does quite a bit to kind of differentiate itself. In terms of moveset, it learns a lot of attacks that are like not water. It can even learn like Flamethrower and stuff through TMs, and that's for reasons we'll get to in a minute. But in terms of what it's based on, there's sort of a few different things that kind of come together here, and those are both kind of mentioned in its English and Japanese names. So the English name, Remoraid, Remora is a type of fish, and it's basically, it's kind of like it's almost a parasite, but not really. It has sort of like a suction cup sort of thing on its body. I don't really know what you'd call it. It's mostly known for kind of sticking to sharks or other larger creatures, and it can kind of eat the scraps that they leave behind, where it's not really detrimental to the larger fish, but it is kind of mooching off of it. And that's seen with Remoraid in the Gen 2 and 3 sprites and the artwork for Mantine. It's seen kind of sticking underside its wing. And in that case, it's also sort of working as like a airplane stuck to a like aircraft carrier type of thing. It's an interesting concept. It's not really utilized as well as it could be, because Remoraid is needed for Mantike to evolve into Mantine in Gen 4 onwards, but it's also this generation when they stopped showing the Remoraid in the artwork, so it's just kind of weird. Also, I find it interesting that in Crystal you can find a Mantine, but Remoraid isn't in the game. That's the only time they ever actually did that. Every other time they've both been in the same game, and that also goes for, in Fire Red and Leaf Green. They're both Leaf Green exclusives, so that worked out pretty well. The Japanese name of this one is Tepuo, and that comes from Teppo, which is just a gun, and then Uo is a fish, and yeah, it's basically just a fish that's vaguely shaped like a gun. And in the original, like, alpha version of the game, there was a much clearer depiction of this, which I'm assuming they changed because they didn't want to just have a gun Pokemon. They figured that probably wouldn't go over too well. So it kept sort of the same shape, and if, like, you squint, you can see that it looks like a gun, but it doesn't really. It's there, and it's mainly there as a reason to explain its evolution, and we'll obviously get to that when we talk about it. But there's also another type of fish called the archerfish, which this is based on, and that one is known for basically spitting out a stream of water to knock bugs off of leaves, or sometimes even just like out of the air, and so then they'll fall into the water and they'll be able to eat the bugs. And those are apparently, like, those are almost Pokemon in real life in a sense, because they can actually shoot the water, like, extremely accurately up to, like, 7 feet. They can shoot even farther than 7, but that's, like, as far as they're able to accurately hit something. It's definitely a strange case of nature just kind of creating something that you wouldn't think should exist, but somehow does anyway. Kingdra is the only dragon type introduced in Gen 2, with the only other dragon types at that point being the Dratini family, so it's the 4th and final one as far as Gold and Silver are concerned. And I always thought that it was a pretty strong Pokemon, and always kind of dreaded fighting one. Looking at its stats now, it is pretty good. It has base 95 and everything except for HP and speed. So it's not quite up there with, like, legendary stats, but for just a regular Pokemon, it's definitely not bad. The main thing that always stood out to me was its typing, because the Dragon type is only weak to Ice and Dragon, and the Water type of Kingdra negates the Ice weakness. And because it's part Dragon, that also negates the Electric and Grass weaknesses, so its only weakness was actually Dragon, which you're pretty unlikely to have any Dragon moves on your team. Now with Gen 6 you also have the Fairy weakness, but like in the older games that's at least how it was. And so, like I said, whenever I would come across somebody that had one of these, it was always just kind of a challenge to fight, because it's usually going to survive a few attacks, unless you just have like a really strong, kind of like one-turn nuke type of thing. And it can definitely dish out some damage during that time. The reason I've never used one before this is just because it's generally annoying to obtain. Seadra and Horsey are actually available in every single Pokemon game other than the GameCube games, which is a fact that sort of surprised me. I think I knew that at one point and then just forgot about it. It's kind of surprising how common they actually are, given that they're not particularly popular from what I've seen. But Kingdra is a trait evolution that requires a special item, and if you know me, I don't usually trade very often, and the ones that also require consumable items that are difficult to get are even worse. With this one requiring the Dragon Scale, and looking up the games that the Dragon Scale is available in and where you get it, most games you're lucky to even find one. Some of them, like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, actually don't even have one anywhere. The only way to get them is by getting lucky and finding one held by a wild Pokemon at like a 5% chance. And that's pretty annoying to do. So, luckily, if you, like, the one other way you can get a Kingdra is you can find them in the wild in the Gen 5 games, which thankfully did actually have a number of trait evolutions available, but yeah, it's not been in any other games other than that, so you're not going to use a Kingdra if you don't have someone to trade with, usually. So, name on this one, straightforward, don't even really need to mention it, same in Japanese. The design of it is based off of the leafy sea dragon, which is similar to a seahorse, but it's not exactly the same animal. You'll notice, like, on Kingdra, like, it has the kind of antlers and the kind of frilly-looking fin. that's kind of what makes them stand out from seahorses, is they can kind of blend in with seaweed a bit. Not the same as the weedy sea dragon, which is what Dragalge from Gen 6 is based on, but they're all just kind of similar sea creatures. And of course, as I mentioned with the previous reviews, in Japan, seahorses are sort of associated with dragons, so that's where the whole dragon typing came in. Other than that, it's just kind of a normal Pokemon. There's not really a whole lot else to say about it. Like, the Pokedex says it creates whirlpools and stuff, doesn't learn the move naturally though, and the only time you generally see it is with like gym leaders and really high level trainers, so if you use one, it's cool. If you don't, then just good luck fighting it. Okay, I believe we should be all caught up with item management and team management and everything. So, oh, we've got like a Dragonite sprite there. Was not expecting that. So yeah, we got ourselves a Kingdra now. And has Ice Beam, which is mainly what I wanted and why I went through all that garbage. And I also cloned the Dragon Breath TM. Dragon Breath is not an amazing move, but it was better than Twister. I had to delete Twister to send it back to Gen 1 anyway, because it was not a compatible move. So we're gonna at least get rid of Water Gun, don't need that. And I think we have a semi-decent moveset here. It could be better. Smoke Screen's not exactly amazing, but by early game standards, that's certainly not bad, and Kingdra is a good Pokemon, so we'll take it. Now, depending on how long it was shown with the sped-up footage and everything, you may or may not have noticed that I managed to get a Leftovers off that Snorlax. Now, interesting kind of tidbit about this. This was something I always knew was a thing, but I never really looked much into it. When you send Pokemon up from Gen 1, they'll hold items, and obviously Gen 1 doesn't actually have held items, so it's just kind of based on what the species is. So I looked through a list of everything, and was actually going to go for Clefable originally, which also gives Leftovers, but then I found out that the item it gives is based off of, like, the catch rate of the Pokemon when it was originally caught, and you can't actually get a wild Clefable unless you do the Mew glitch, so it would have counted as the catch rate of a Clefairy, which is like a Mystery Berry or something, which is also pretty decent, but there's a few items that are exclusive through that. Like, Machoke can give you a brick piece, which is completely useless, except it sells for like 25 Pokédollars. The legendaries give you Bright Powder, which I was tempted to go for. Some stuff can give you like TMs, but I figured Leftovers was the most useful. And I'm just going to plop that on whoever has the most HP, and it's basically a tie between Debbie and David. I'm not going to count the 1 HP difference. I'm actually surprised how close my team members all are. Usually there's a much more of a disparity, but I see nothing wrong with just making one ridiculously OP Pokemon here. Not that Kingdra is necessarily OP, but it's fairly good compared to, like, Stantler. But anyway, we're finally done with that, so what's the rest of this video gonna be? I couldn't tell you. No, the obvious next thing to do is, now that I have all the badges, we can go for the Elite Four. But, I'm a dick, so I'm not gonna do that. I need to, obviously, put things off as long as possible. And there's a few other Pokemon I still need to catch. So, let's, just kind of wander off and go do that for a while, I guess. Because, you all knew it was coming. There's a, certain controversial Pokemon topic that has come up lately, and everyone's talking about it, or more accurately, everyone refuses to shut up about it, and I've not really given that much of an opinion on it. I've mentioned it a couple times in streams, so like I said, if you've followed anything even remotely close to Pokemon, or even, like, been on the internet in the past month, you're aware of the outcry over Sword and Shield. But just in case you're not, and I guess to give context for people who watch this, like, later on when it's no longer a relevant topic, when Sword and Shield were shown off at the E3 conference, like the Treehouse, it was mentioned that the new games are not going to have every Pokemon available, and in the like in every game up to this point, that's kind of already been the case. Like, there's always going to be some stuff. Oh, for fuck's sake. There's always some stuff that you have to trade for. Like, even if it's just with the other version, or like other games from the generation. Usually there's some stuff that's also, like, you have to send up from the previous generation. But in this case, you will not have the ability to do that. There is going to be a large chunk of Pokemon that flat out will not be available through any means. And that has made a lot of people upset for pretty obvious reasons, because that's been one of the main selling points of the series, and kind of what makes it stand apart from other similar series. Like, I've never played Digimon or, like, Dragon Quest Monsters or Yokai Watch or any of that kind of stuff, but like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of those kind of either start fresh a lot of times, or like they'll have some older stuff but not everything. But Pokemon's always been good about keeping everything available. Like, you might have to jump through some hoops to get it, but you can get it. And now that they're taking that away, that really just kind of sucks. Like, so again, I need to say here, like, this has been a topic that everybody has bitched about. So I'm not going to be saying anything here that's unique that nobody has ever said before. Like, I'm not going to have a unique position on this, but I kind of just need to say my bit on it anyway. Is like, for me, one of the main appeals of Pokemon is the collection aspect of it. The ability to, what Pokemon did I even put away to get the Sea King? Okay, this is fine. Like, did I get rid of something I need? But, it's like, depending on how many Pokemon are available in the game, or in, like, what methods you have to go through to get them, that actually does have a pretty big impact on how well I like the game overall. Like, one of the main reasons I didn't like Sun and Moon so much is because, like, it's not that the Pokedex is necessarily small, because, like, in the original Sun and Moon it's 300, and in the Ultras it's 400, and then there's, like, the island scan stuff that you can get, and Ultra also adds, like, the Ultra Wormhole stuff and Legendaries. Like, there's a decent amount of stuff you can get, but there's still a huge chunk of crap that you have to import from the previous games, and I've never been a fan of that, because, like, I always like to start the collection over from scratch every time, as opposed to, I'm looking for Machoke, by the way, just in case that was, oh, well, here he is, so we're gonna have to talk about Machoke in a little bit, but yeah, it's like, you could get a decent amount of stuff, but the stuff that you couldn't get, it's not like get it from the other version, because it's not in those either. There was like a couple hundred that you had to transfer up from Gen 6, and like, that basically just makes me not. Oh, what am I doing? This is gonna kill it. Okay, I'm not paying attention. Yeah, it just kind of makes me not want to bother, and so, like, the last time I've ever not bothered making a living dex was all the way back in Gen 3. Like, I've done it in every game since. So, that just kind of turned me off. And so now with Sword and Shield doing this, it's like, on one hand, it makes it easier to get a quote-unquote living dex, because you can only get the stuff that's already in the game. You don't have to worry about transferring stuff up. So, like, in a sense, it's actually kind of good, but, like, from my perspective, but it's not, because, like, that's catering to my very specific wishes, but in, like, a monkey's paw. Like, sure, we'll make it easier to get everything without transfer, because we won't let you transfer. It's like, it's not really a solution. And, like, most people don't play the way that I do. They want to be able to keep their old stuff, and they just can't. And that really sucks. And the part about this that everybody's been harping on more recently, maybe not even recently, but, like, kind of the sticking point is, the fact that Game Freak is claiming that the reason they're doing this is because the current system is unsustainable, and they can't have everything available in every game for forever, which is true. And I've been, like, me and Joel have been saying for a while that, like, there's so many obscure evolution methods and, like, stupid one-use held items that they now have to throw into every game. Like, you have to have all the Arceus plates, you have to have the Genesect drives, you have to have, now, the Sil Valley memories, you have to include a cardboard box with the Rotom appliances, the Meteors for Deoxys, a Gracidia for Shaman, the Grisius Orb for Giratina, the Mirror for the, like, Forces of Nature. You have to have something that can teach Dragon Ascent. Like, there's so much random bullshit that doesn't belong. Oh yeah, and the 50 Megastones. Like, Sun and Moon didn't even bother putting most of the Megastones in the game. You had to get them through events. And even the ones that were in the game were, you had to buy them from the battle tree. So it was like, it was hitting a point where it was kind of insane how much crap they had to cram in. And not in, like, a running out of space type of way, but just, like, the way, how contrived it was to try and fit this stuff into the game somewhere in a way that felt natural. So, like, I understand kind of trimming the fat a little bit, but I feel like an easy solution to that is, like, okay, so here's the other thing. They introduced the Pokemon Home thing, which is basically the updated version of Bank. Everything can transfer into Home. Send stuff from Gen 6, the Virtual Console Gen 1 and 2 games, the Let's Go games, and Go itself can all transfer into Home, so everything's combined into one place. I have my own complaints about that, but I might complain about it later, but we'll ignore that for right now. So, we've got this system. Everything can go into it, but nothing can leave. Like, you can't, as far as I'm like, from what I understand, you can't send stuff from Home back into Gen 7, because it's like that. When you send stuff in Bank from 6 to 7, like from XY up to Sun Moon or whatever, it, like, now kind of flags them as originating in a Gen 7 game, or, like, having been tainted by one, so it can't go back. And that kind of seems to be the case with this. So it's basically like, we're going to have this system that we're going to combine all your Pokemon in one place, and they can sit there and rot, because half of them aren't going to be able to go into Sword and Shield. They're just going to sit there until we decide to make it available. So, like, let's say you have your shiny, like, team member from Diamond and Pearl. Like, here's a good example. Let's say I was the kind of person who liked to keep my team together, like, move them up every game, keep all my shinies, all that stuff. When I first played Pearl, in the first hour of gameplay, basically, it was like an hour and 15 minutes in, I found a shiny Shinx. Now, I didn't actually use it on my team, but let's say that I did, and that this shiny Luxray was, like, my most valued team member in any of my games. Luxray has never been in a regional Pokédex since Diamond Pearl Platinum. So, until they make it available again, it's now stuck in Home, basically indefinitely, until they decide, like, hey, let's put Luxray in a region again, which could be years from now. And you have to pay the fee for Home every year for it to stay in there. Like, people have said it's Game Freak holding your Pokemon hostage. It really is. Like, there's no other way to word that. That is what's happening. And it's such bullshit. And they're doing it because they said that, like, oh, we're increasing the, like, personality of the animations, we're making them high quality, and we're making, like, better models. But they're not. That's the thing that people keep bitching about, and people who don't understand the full situation are, like, not understanding why people are bitching about this, because, like, there's all these videos showing the wild area with the, like, Ocarina of Time style, like, made this tree in 5 minutes blender tree. Like, there's that thing, there's the Pokemon popping into existence, like, 3 inches in front of you, there's the Wingulls floating in midair without flapping, there's the Scorbunny, like, hopping up 2 inches to do double kick without animating. Like, all this garbage, and the thing is, like, Pokemon fans have kind of stopped caring about that kind of stuff. Like, at least the majority of them have. I'm sure, like, there's some people who... Okay, I need to find something with Flash, hold on. Like, there's some people who want there to be better Pokemon animations, and fair enough, there should be. But at the same... What's in my team? Okay. But, it's like... I think the majority would be okay with them not making significant improvements in that if the game was still gonna include everything. Like, it's one or the other, but they're not doing either. Because in X and Y, for all 721 Pokemon plus all the alternate forms that were in that game, they had to create those models from scratch. Like, people don't give enough credit to how much work actually went into X and Y. I actually think those games are pretty decent. But, it's like, they did all the models. The models are pretty good. The animations, some are good, some are kind of bad. Like, they also did the thing with all the flying Pokemon just kind of hovering in place and looking like shit, and they've never fixed that because, well, we have these flying battles in the game now, so we don't want to have Xatu stand on the ground, even though it's a fucking totem pole, and it should be, so let's just have it floating in midair. They've never had Sky Battles since, and there were only like 4 of them in the game anyway, but we gotta have those animations for forever now, because we made them and we're not gonna change them. But, they've gone on record now apparently saying that, like, they're creating all the new, like, they can't transfer the models over, and so they're having to make them from scratch and, like, new animations, which is absolutely false, because you can tell they're the exact same. There's different shaders on them, but the models and the animations are, like, 99% identical. I think there was, like, Machoke could be seen opening its mouth in one of its in one of its animations, which it didn't do before, but everything else was the same. And so, like, if we're to believe them that they are, in fact... God, so many encounters here. Like, if they are, in fact, making everything from scratch, then that means they're doing their best to make them identical to the old ones in every way. So it's, like... They're basically just lying about cutting content, coming up with reasons for why they did it, and the reasons are bullshit, and that's why people are pissed off. So, like, I've been back and forth, just been debating if I want to get the new games. I really don't think I do. Like, I am never the kind of person to be like, I'm gonna boycott this game or this product because I feel like it's supporting bad decisions or, like, a bad company or whatever. Like, I don't ever do that. I'm just like, whatever. As long as it's fun, I don't care. Where is the Whirlpool? Here it is. But goddamn, they are doing everything in their power to make these games look bad. Like, I like... And here's another thing, like, the graphics in the cities and stuff look fine. Like, I am not in any way a graphics whore. Like, I don't even mind the Ocarina of Time tree bad animation type stuff. Like, necessarily. Like, they're kind of stupid, and I can make fun of them, but they're not a deal breaker for me. The deal breaker is the combination of saying that they're improving stuff and then not doing it, and using that as a reason to not include old Pokemon, because this is apparently how everything's going to be from now on. Like, they're never going to have a game with everything available again. Why not make the first game on the Switch be the one to actually include everything, then? Like, are you fucking kidding me with this? You can't learn strength, can you? I am assuming the Wooper cannot learn strength. But yeah, I'm rambling at this point, and like I said, everybody's already talked about this. No, it can't. Well, I might still be able to get through this place. I mainly came in here to get a Seel. I don't know if there's anything else in here that I actually need. Let's find out where Seel even is. I know it's in here somewhere. Boom, wow. There's a couple evolutions and stuff that might be in here, but... Sorry, I'm trying to open up the Poke Earth on my phone here. I'll see what I can reach without strength anyway. This is an area of the game that I've never known very well. I don't ever remember which one is the good one to enter either. Like, there's one specific section that you can enter to get to the bottom. I don't think this is the one. Okay, so yeah, Seel is available in the little entrance rooms. I can go back and get one of those. Morning and day, but not at night. That's fine, it's currently day. Oh shit, actually, it's about to turn night in 5 minutes. Shit, Seel, I need you. I don't want to change the clock. I didn't realize it was so late already. Okay, Seel, you've got a 25% chance to show up, and I have 4 minutes to find you. Let me make sure it is in fact still day. Okay, it is still day. I have a very small amount of time to do this. Let's go. Okay, looking at Poke Earth. Is anything else in here that I need? There's wild Seadros that require this super rod. Let's see. That might be it. I don't think you can get Kingler in here. That's the only other thing I can think of that I might need. Kingler is also super rod. There's a Seel. Okay. Well, I got what I came for. I'll have to go through this place later on, eventually, to get Lugia anyway, so... Let's just, kind of leave it at that. I've got 2 Pokemon to talk about. Maybe I can do a little bit of exploration while I do that. Because I'm not sure what else I'm doing at the moment. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other things I want to complain about with Sword and Shield, because it's like really... I'm still on the fence. I might end up getting it, but goddamn. Like, this was such a bad time to do it. Like, let's introduce this new system. Like, the first Pokemon on a console game, on a home console, and we're gonna have this home thing that allows you to combine everything, but also, we're not gonna let you use it. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. And it would be great if they, were like, we're gonna start off with only 400, but we'll start adding everything else as, like, free DLC. You know they're not gonna do that. There's no way they're gonna do that. They never have. But anyway, like I said, I've been rambling long enough. Let's do a couple bios here, and I'll see what I can reach without strength, and then, we'll figure out something else to do. Oh boy, Machoke. So this is probably my least favorite Gen 1 Pokemon. I might think of one later that I like even less, but it's pretty close to the bottom at least. And that's mainly just because I find it kind of gross looking. And it's nothing to do with Machoke specifically, it's just the whole, like, big, buff, muscular body thing going on. I've just always found that very unappealing. I think muscles in general are pretty gross. But, yeah, here we have a Pokemon that's basically just, let's take the body of, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger or, like, some just crazy, like, bodybuilder, and, give him the head of, like, a Kremling from Donkey Kong Country. Now, that one, like, that, it looks more like a Kremling in the later games. In the earlier ones, and, like, some of the early artwork, it's just kind of like a big potato with, like, a dumb monster face, but... I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of uncanny, I feel. And also it has, like, these red stripes on its arms that I always thought were, like, bulging veins or, like, stretch marks or something. But I think they're just supposed to be stripes. I don't know, though. If you look at like, the Gen 1 sprites, its arms basically just look like muscle matter, like, with no skin over it. And that kind of makes it look even creepier. But, anyway... Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much just its inspiration. It's not based off of anything else. English name is just Macho and Choke, and it's not something particularly known for choking, and thank God for that, because I can only imagine the artwork that would arise if it was. But, you have that, and then the Beta name was supposed to be Kung Fu, and I'm kind of glad they changed it because that's a bad name. And the Japanese name is Goriki, which apparently means Herculean strength. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this thing, because it's just weird. Like, there's other Pokemon that are human-shaped. Like, I had no problem with Jinx, even though most people like that one. Or most people don't like it. But, like, with Gen 5, we had Throw and Sock, and there were a lot of people that kind of got upset because they were wearing clothes, and Hitmonchan also did from Gen 1. Like, this one, though, it has, like, this very specific belt on it, and I want to know where this belt came from, because there's no way that thing is biological. It's got, like, this black thong thing going on, and that apparently is supposed to just sort of be what its skin looks like down there. It's not actually an article of clothing, it's just, it happens to be dark around that region. But then above that it has this belt, and the Pokedex says that if it takes the belt off, then its power will be too much for it to control, and it will, like, be a danger to everybody around it. But you never see one without it, and it's not an item. It just kind of gets it through evolution, and I find that really weird. It's even weirder than Kadabra just getting a spoon. Or like any other Pokemon that just has a tool as part of its anatomy. It's unusual. I guess you could say that, like, if you're training a Machop, you just have to have the belt ready for when it evolves, but I don't know. It's a minor sticking point, but it always kind of bugged me. Also, it has the letter P on it for some reason, I guess because it's a power belt, and in the, like, sprite-based generations, they would never mirror the sprite because of the letter P, because they don't want you to see it backwards, even though the P is, like, 2 pixels. So, I don't know, just minor stupid thing I noticed. But yeah, that's Machoke, it's a thing. Seel is most likely the most forgettable Gen 1 Pokemon, or at least that's what a lot of people like to say it is, and because they've said that, it's wrapped around and become less forgettable. But there's a few good reasons for why it's considered that, and one of them is just its name, because it's a seal and it's named Seel. They didn't even attempt to make any kind of pun with that, they just kind of spelled it a little different. The Japanese name is Pawo, I believe is how you pronounce it, which is probably just the sound that a seal makes, according to the Japanese. That's what Bulbapedia says, at least. But yeah, design on this one, it's a seal, or a sea lion, and we'll get to that in a minute. It has a horn because it's from Gen 1, and everything from Gen 1 has to have a horn. And most of the time in its sprites and models, you'll see it in, like, this weird, kind of like flipping over backwards position with its tail up in the air that makes it kind of look like a water spout. And also it has, like, its tongue sticking out. That's about it. Like, there's not much to this Pokemon. It's a pure water type, learns a few ice type moves, but it's not actually an ice type itself until it evolves. Doesn't evolve until fairly late, and it usually isn't available in games until pretty late in general, because, you know, ice types, you can't have them in the beginning part of the game, that would just be against the law. But it is surprisingly in a lot of the games. The only regions it's not really found in are Hoenn and the original Sun and Moon. It was added in the Ultra games. It is actually a version exclusive in Diamond and Pearl, though. It is not in Pearl. Kind of random, but whatever. So, I figured what we'll talk about here is the difference between seals and sea lions, because I certainly didn't know. And the differences are fairly minor, and I don't know why they needed to be classified as two animals, but I am not a biologist, so don't ask me. But yeah, the main difference is that sea lions kind of have ears, and regular seals don't. They just have like a smooth head, and there's like an ear hole, but there's no external part to it. Sea lions have like these weird sort of legs, where they can kind of like flip their like hind flipper area like underneath them and use it as like a couple of legs to push with, whereas regular seals don't do that. They just sort of bounce across the ground. Both of them have to bounce, but sea lions are slightly more mobile, and they swim a little bit differently. Seals use the I'm trying to remember. Which one is it? Seals use their rear flippers. Sea lions use their front flippers. I know, massively important. But that's pretty much the difference. And then, of course, there's walruses, which are basically sea lions, but with tusks. And, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they're just meat submarines. That's just one of those, like, Imgur animal names that floated around for a while. Like, a few years ago. They might still be a thing. And I believe the meat submarine category can also include manatees and possibly even hippos, although I've usually heard hippos called as danger cows. But, the main thing that I always remember about Seel, like, standing out in any capacity is the fact that it got, like, a Beanie Baby type thing from KFC when Pokemon first started. For some reason, it was one of 4 Pokemon to get one. And it was also in a bonus level in Pokemon Pinball. And even when I played that for the first time, I had to question why. I had no idea why it was in there. Alright, well, I guess we're done talking about that for a while, so let's go back to complaining about stuff. Nah, I don't really want to go back to complaining about stuff, honestly, but, I'm trying to think what else I could even talk about at the moment, and that's the main subject that keeps coming to mind. So, I mean, I've said the majority of what I wanted to say. Oh, hey, we're back here. I'm trying to figure out where it is I'm supposed to even be going in this place. I think the top left is the one that eventually gets you deeper down, but without me looking up a map right now, it's kind of hard to tell. And I only came in with 1 repel, so it's like, eh. Let me check up here, though, make sure this doesn't lead to something. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure most people are probably sick of hearing about it. Like, whenever I go to the board, like the board for Sword and Shield on GameFAQs or the Pokemon subreddit, like, it's the only thing you ever see is people complaining about Dexit, is what people are calling it. And I understand it. Like, trust me, I'm annoyed too. If I wasn't annoyed, I wouldn't be talking about it so much, but, I'm annoyed. I wish they weren't happening. Like, I wish they weren't doing it. I wish that if enough people complained, they would listen and change their minds. I don't expect them to. It's just... like... And I might even be misquoting stuff, because I've also heard that, like, I think I said earlier that, I just heard recently that apparently they're having to make everything from scratch, and that's clearly not true. And that, like, the Dynamax Pokemon are having to get their own unique models different from the main ones, even though it's the same Pokemon, just they're big. Now, if you were taking a very low-res model that is not meant to be seen, like, close up, and you're blowing that up to gigantic size, and now it's all polygonal and crappy looking, that I could understand, but that's not really what they're doing. So let me make sure. This should be the Lugia Cave. I'm just double checking, because I'm pretty sure I can't do anything in here. Yeah, not so much. We'll be back here eventually. But yeah, they're not doing that. And they claimed they had to get rid of Mega Evolutions because they didn't want to continue putting in the resources to making new models for those, but oh, we can make a new higher res model for every single Pokemon that Dynamaxes, which is all of them. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm up... Oh, I don't have a waterfall with me. Okay, so I would be stuck if not for the fact that they planned for such an event. So I guess we're not going back up there. I saw a couple items, I don't know how you reach them though. Where's this gonna take me? Oh. Okay, I mean, I think we've basically done everything we can do in here. I'd like to get those other items, but we'll figure that out. What would those items even... Item is. I can talk, I promise. What would they even be? Let me see if I can find out. Guard spec, full restore, Ultra Ball, Rare Candy. I've gotten a lot of these. I don't know which ones I'm missing. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'll be back for them at some point. Can we dig out of here? Should be able to dig out of here. Yep, okay. But yeah, it's like... So, obviously Charizard is still in the game, because we've seen it. Like, we've seen other Pokemon that have the ability to Mega Evolve, so they just don't have their Megas anymore. Like, those are just gone. Because I liked Mega Evolutions. Like... I think ever since Gen 6, they've been doing this thing where they're like, let's introduce this new one-off mechanic. Like, we had the Mega Evolutions, we had the Z moves, now we have the Gainaxing, as I always like to call it. But, like, the Z moves, I understand being a one-and-done thing, because they don't really do anything that spectacular, it's just a nuke button. The Megas, I felt, were more than that, because for a lot of Pokemon, like, you have Mawile and Audino and Beedrill and Pidgeot and stuff, like, stuff that isn't very good normally, and having the Mega Evolution actually makes them worthwhile, and it's just, it sucks to just have that be gone now. Like, they might bring them back eventually, but that gets back to the point, why not just have them all the time? And you could also argue, why aren't they just regular evolutions instead of Megas? Like, I'd rather have them be permanent than temporary, and I agree with that, but they're still okay. What do you want? Was the book from Dr. Lipschitz? Good job. He called me earlier, too, when I was preparing for the trading crap. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The games might still be amazing, and all the freaking out was for nothing, but I've just been very disappointed lately. It's like, we can have everyone is here for Smash Bros. Ultimate, like, pulled off this impossible shit, getting Snake back, getting Cloud, like, getting all this stuff, putting in, like, all this love and care into their, like, every animation for their moves, and, like, all this extra detail, make all these levels, like, we can do all that, but Game Freak, we're such a small company, we don't have the resources to do that, because we only hire, like, 4 people. Just, I don't know. Alright, so, the reason I'm in Ekritique, let me actually get Camilla back, I don't need my HM slaves, because I believe Suicune has actually been available for a while, and I've not wanted to get it because I kind of hate catching legendaries. It's just up to luck. I need to move this Seel over, but we'll do that later. Actually, I should probably do it now before I forget. Yeah, I'm gonna try to catch Suicune. I have something with a sleep move, so that'll at least help a little bit. Then again, this is Gen 2, where catching Pokemon is just kind of a crapshoot. I know, I should move over to a box with all 20 so that I can try to throw the ball and it'll tell me that I can't catch it. That'll be cool. Okay, so how many Ultra Balls do I have? Not nearly enough. As much of a stickler as I am in later games, catching the legendaries and regular Pokeballs and stuff, I am not doing that here. I've not given a shit for the rest of this playthrough, so I'm certainly not going to start caring now. In Ultra Sun, I did start catching legendaries in the wormholes, and I've made it a point to always get those in Beast Balls, because I hate myself, apparently. Get just an even 20. With the Roto catch ability and the Beast Ball, it's still probably like a 0.5% chance or something. Like, I don't know, it's stupidly low. I've managed to catch quite a few of them, but there's probably like at least half of them left. I've not touched that game in a while. like I said, just the whole... Like, I've not had much motivation to get everything in that game. I don't remember what triggers that Suicune event, so I'm saving constantly, because I don't want to wander into it and be caught off guard. Is it in here? Momentous event. I like to... A momentous event has occurred. I must ask you to leave. Reaches into bell, or reaches into bag. Dee-dee-dee-dee. He's like, oh! I see. I don't want to climb Tin Tower. That doesn't sound like a fun time. I hate Tin Tower. I don't have the Rainbow Wing. Okay. What do we got here? I don't remember this. I've played through Crystal a couple times, but it's been so long. Let's put you up front. I don't think I need to save again. So, yep, we've got ourselves a triple battle. That's another thing. We had triple battles and rotation battles in black and white. Can't ever have those again. I don't think we've had those again. Test your worth with a Flareon. I assume they use the Eevee evolutions. Or, you know, Noctowl. He had 2 Pokemon, though, so one of them is probably an evolution. And surprisingly, I'm just about at the right level to be doing this, it looks like. Except Claire had a level 40, so yeah, this could have been done a while ago. I guess not that much time has passed since this was available, because you were able to do this as soon as you got the bell, and that was from doing the Team Rocket stuff, which was after the 7th gem. Yep, I like how I guessed it was Flareon. Of course. And super effective move, gonna do 5 damage. Okay, it did a little bit more than 5. Going for Dynamic Punch anyway. There was some weird shit that happened with Dynamic Punch in the last video. I think it was like someone had a comment explaining like all this weird crap that happened. I think there's like a basically 1 out of 100. It's either 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 255 chance of it not confusing, and it managed to happen for me. It was pretty good. I always forget how stupid Electabuzz's head is, like how bad it's shaped. I'm slowly dying over here. Haven't talked this much in a cake's age. I was about to say I haven't encountered all of them, but then I'm like, oh yeah, they were in the tower together. Okay, then. Don't remember that part of the myth. So, this playthrough has been going on over so much time that, I don't remember how long ago I've mentioned these things, but, when I started this LP, I named my, Chikorita Basil, and I made the comment that, I was going to name it Hannah if it was a female, and the reason... spamming buttons, not paying attention to what I'm doing. The reason for that was because of a fanfic called The Language of Life, that I had read a few years ago. I went through that one again semi-recently. Like, I finished it a couple of weeks ago. I would read, like, a couple chapters a week, because I would always forget that I have it open, and I'd, like, read a little bit and then forget about it again. And the reason I bring that one up is because the Legendary Beasts did play a semi-big role in that one, and Raikou and Entei are fucking douchebags. It was kind of amazing, because, like, part of the story was the main character is... I think I've mentioned before, the main character is kind of a Mary Sue. Like, that phrase gets thrown around a lot, and it's not always the best way to say it, because, like, there's nothing wrong with having, like, a strong female lead or whatever, but, like, she's, like, has this unique ability to understand what Pokemon are saying and talk to them, and is, like, the chosen one to, like, save the world, basically. So, kind of a Mary Sue. But, the, role that the Legendary Beasts had is that, like, they were the agents of Ho-Oh, and were supposed to kind of, like, test her worthiness or something, and Suicune's all on board with this, and Entei is just like, nope, bitch god die. And, like he pretty much says that, like, he's like, you wish to use your ability to save humanity? We cannot trust you with this power, and just, like, fucking attacks her. Like, I don't know. I think, Raikou, like, shot her with a thunderbolt and she almost died, and all sorts of good crap happened. I'm not paying attention to this text. You think they would have rebuilt it if it's been 150 years? But yeah, the backstory behind the three beasts is kind of cool. I think it was, like, never officially confirmed that they were the reincarnations of the evolutions until, like, the what was it? Not Pokemon Origins, but the that other, like, short anime series that got released on YouTube, whatever that one was called. Generations, I think it was. I think that confirmed it. I don't remember. I watched all of those once and found most of them pretty forgettable. So yeah, we've got Vaporeon left, so let's just Thunder Punch him in the face. But, I guess that's another thing with, like, the idea of not bringing every Pokemon back for every game. It will at least kind of have legendaries make a little bit more sense, because you have the, like, supreme overlord legendaries that, like, created the universe, of course, and then you have the, kind of lower tier ones, and so, like, Raikou, Entei, Suicune are lower tier, but at the same time, they're also specifically stated to be, like, the reincarnations of these Pokemon that died in the tower that Ho-Oh brought back to life, and they're representative of, like, the lightning bolt, the fire, and the rain. And, like, that would lead you to believe that they're unique creations, but they're also, like, in other regions for no reason. I'm trying to think, like, let's see, because in Gen 3, in Fire Red and Leaf Green, they're just roamers. You could argue it's the same ones, they're just in Kanto, which, fine, but in Colosseum, they're just kind of owned by people. Like, they just kind of have them. I think, certain, like, Battle Tower and Frontier people have had them. So you can just have an Entei, like, nothing big, like, nothing major about that. I probably need to go back and heal. Let's see, Gen 4, they were only in the remix, so that makes sense. 5, they weren't in it at all. 6, they were just one of the many things you could find in the wormholes. I actually kind of liked that, like, the way that Oris and Ultra Sun and Moon handled the legendaries, like, instead of trying to shoehorn them into places where they don't belong, they're just like, hey, a mysterious portal has just led you to it. Like, we don't know where they came from, but here they are. And that's better than, like, oh, by the way, this random cave in Hoenn just has Cresselia. I don't know. I mean, Cresselia is not really that special. I'm trying to think of one that's super out of place. Like the stupid towers in Heart Gold and Soul Silver that it's like, oh, if you come here with the Jade Orb, you know, Rayquaza will just show up. If you come to the Ruins of Alph with the creator of the universe as we know it, he will sift through a bunch of Google images and give you an egg that hatches the Time God. Wait. I love the Google Images event, though. That one's pretty great. And there they are. Now, what if I had caught those already, but they have not shown up? Alright, so I'm gonna give this one decent attempt on camera, and assuming that it doesn't work, then I guess I'm just gonna keep trying to catch it off screen and cut back when I finally... Oh boy, Gust! I forgot it had that move in its arsenal. That's a tough one. Dynamic Punch won't kill it. I just hope that the confusion doesn't cause any problems, but first I have to actually connect for me to worry about said things. Yeah, that's fine. I can even hit it with another one of those. So I think Ultra Balls are the best way to go here. Because like I said, I've basically never used the Abercorn balls, like, ever. They're kind of useless, or at least most of them are. Let's see. I'm gonna have to try and think of what all of them are right now. The Heavy Ball has its uses. I don't think it would be that great against Suicune, because it's a big boy, but it's not, like, a super heavy one, I don't think. Lure Ball only works if you're fishing. Level Ball is like, if you're a much higher level than them, I think, then it does extra. So that's not going to help me. Friend Ball just increases friendship, that doesn't help with catch rate. Moon Ball only works on things that evolve with a burn heal, because good coding, and even if it was coded correctly, it would still be really stupid. Fast Ball is on things that run away, which would have worked for Suicune in Gold and Silver, but not so much in this game. And what's the other one? Let me switch out here. Let's see. Red is level. Yellow is... I'm forgetting one of them. But I'm assuming the last one isn't very useful either. It's gonna bug me not remembering what it is, though. Okay, the rain-falling Bubble Beam is a little bit of a concern, actually. By all means, just continue to make it rain, though. Of course. Is this a speed tie? It is a speed tie. What the hell? Okay, well, I guess we're not using Hypnosis. I could use a Revive, but... well... let's see if we can, get any Wiggles here. If I knew the names of the Wiggles, I would make a joke, but I don't. Okay, hold on. Lure Friend. Oh, that's all I have. Master Ball, let's go. I don't think I'm going to use the Master Ball on anything. Okay! I mean, I guess. I don't know what to say to that. Like, I'm trying to think, has that ever happened to me before? Like, you always hear the stories of people who are like, I used all my Ultra Balls, and as a last-ditch effort, I threw a Pokeball, and it actually worked, oh my god! But, like, and then for those, I'm always just like, yeah, it's not that impressive, but first ball, though, huh. Actually, I want to say when I played Sapphire the first time, I threw a Ultra Ball at Rayquaza at full health and got it. It might have not been the first one I threw. It's been so long, I don't remember. But anyway, I guess we have Suicune now. Pure Reservoir. Okay. What region has that in it? Also, there's a disproportionately large number of people who call it Suicune. Anyway. Awesome. I've been chasing this thing my whole life, and you just kind of caught it in the first ball. And then here's where Datai complains that something can't be rainbow colored. I don't know. I don't know what else you'd call it. Alright. So, I've got to do a thing about Suicune. Might hold off a little bit on that. Just seeing what other text we have here. And that is all that they say. 700 years ago. So do I actually have the ability to climb Tin Tower? Because I don't want to, but I'm curious if I... Okay, this isn't the Tin Tower. What is this? Is this the Sprout Tower's, like, lesser-known brother, Daryl? Oh, this is the Swim. Okay. I guess the staircase just doesn't show itself until you have the Rainbow Wing. That's fine. I didn't... What? What do you want? Are you gonna say that you managed to beat a Pidgey? Still haven't caught Hoot Hoot. Well, keep on trying. One day. I don't know. So I wasn't expecting to actually catch Suicune in any kind of timely manner here. I believe that leaves the only things in Johto that I haven't done. Other than, like, possible loose items laying around, like the ones in Whirl Islands. I haven't found Raikou and Entei. I think I found one of them, but I didn't catch it. Let me see which one I found and where it currently is. After we scroll through the index for 9 hours. I have to hatch a Magby out of the odd egg at some point, too. We've seen... I keep calling it Raikou. I think it's Raikou, but I'm used to calling it Raikou. Well, he's nearby. I'm gonna try going down and see if it shows up. Join Don. It's pretty close to me, but it's not the same route. Yeah, so I gotta chase down these guys. No idea where Entei is, but there's ways to make him show up, I think. I need to hatch the Magby. Once I do that, I can... Like, the guy in the daycare still has the odd egg, so I can't actually put anything in the daycare until I finish with that, which is why I have still yet to actually properly get a Cyndaquil or Totodile. Like, I had them, but they got et, so I need to get those again. Butterfree Beedrill are still in the bug contest. I don't want to bother getting those. I'm just going to catch them on, like, Route 2. And Qwilfish is a thing that exists. I can force a Qwilfish swarm by changing between daylight savings time a bunch of times. I'm actually kind of curious how lucky I can get with that. Because I think that happened on the first try when I tried it with the Remoraid swarm. But here I have, like, other people that can call me. So yeah, Wilton is the Qwilfish guy, I think. And then no, Ralph is the Qwilfish guy. These three, I mean these four, I think give you evolution stones. I have to double check. So I'm just gonna kind of do that a few times and see if I get lucky. Because, I mean, I got lucky the last time I did it, and I caught Suicune in one Ultra Ball. Speaking of which, I should probably save, in case the game just decides to, like, come down with Hepatitis B and shut itself off. Hey, Mom. Help me change time a few times. not about my money, in fact. You know it. I'm just gonna do this a few times. I have a 1 out of 5 chance of the trainer that I want calling me, and I don't know what the chance, if he happens to call me, what the chance is of getting the swarm to happen. So, probably pretty low. Oh my god, I hate this. Is this about your money? No. Is it over? Yes, it is. Gina, do you have a leaf stone? Haven't caught Hoot Hoot or Snubble. Maybe you should, I don't know what to tell you. You got a Hoppip, so it's not exactly the greatest of Pokemon. I don't hate Hoppip, but it's not very good. Unless it's named Basil. That one was good. Hey, Wilton, what's up? Okay, well, free Waterstone. Yeah, I didn't want to do that for too long. I should probably do that before next time. Let me, change the time back to what it's supposed to be, and then... It's not about my money. Not everything is about money. Okay, I guess we're getting 2. Wait, you have a Bulbasaur? Okay. For Mother, Volcano Bake Meat. Alrighty, so... Yeah, outside of trying to get a Qwilfish to show up, which... Honestly, I could just work on off-screen. I kind of want to just do that now. I have to talk about Suicune anyway. So let's grab this Waterstone. Great Ball. That's not a Waterstone. Huh. Maybe they can give you more than one item. Unless this isn't the guy that gives you this Waterstone. I don't know who it is. But yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about Suicune for a little bit. And if I'm lucky, I might have the opportunity to catch a Qwilfish after. Okay, never mind. Let's actually not talk about Suicune yet. Because we got it first try. Let's, you call your mom sometimes. I mean, she's right here, but alright. Alright, let's snag a Qwilfish. This has been something that I've needed to do for a long time and just never wanted to bother. I think at this point I'm just going to kind of save Suicune for its own little bit at the end of the episode. It's a legendary, so it can get special treatment. Except, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say about it. I don't really have any personal attachment to the thing. Probably look up some weird info about it's based off of this obscure Japanese myth. And, I don't know. Alright, so, how about these, alleged Qwilfish, then? I believe that, you can get Qwilfish, and, in Gold and Silver Remoraid, you can get them with a Super Rod without the Swarm, but, yeah, there you go. In before I kill it. Decreasing size. Okay, so I'll catch this thing, and for reals now, let's actually do a bio. This time we'll do it on Quill. Oh, hey, I got frozen. Do the Qwilfish one, and I think we're gonna head off into Kanto actually and get started on that whole process. If Seel was the most forgettable Pokemon in Gen 1, then Qwilfish is probably the most forgettable of Gen 2. Although it does share that same problem of, like, so many people have mentioned it as being forgettable that it's flipped around to being kind of remembered again. And Gen 2 has a lot more competition, because we've already gone through a bunch of really obscure, kind of useless Pokemon, and Qwilfish is just sort of one of a dozen of those. And, as I kind of said with Remoraid, it's a shame, because this isn't a bad Pokemon, it's just one that's very easily overlooked. It's, as we saw, a swarm-only location and one route, and you're probably just going to skip over it. No major trainers use one, the game doesn't really make a point to tell you it exists, it's just kind of there. And, since everybody was already so sick of Tentacool, Qwilfish being the same type combination probably didn't really excite too many people, but it's, actually one of only 4 poison types in Gen 2, the others being Crobat and the Spinarak family. So it's actually not that bad, surprisingly. It has pretty good attack and speed. Its moveset is serviceable. I used one in Emerald 386, a ROM hack, back around like 2005. It was not bad. It wasn't my strongest team member, but it held its own. And if it was more readily available and not so obscure, I feel like more people would probably pick it up and give it a decent shot sometime. But it's like, it'll show up in games occasionally, but they usually don't really put it in the foreground too much. It's usually either like a post-game, after you get the Super Rod, go to this specific location and get it, or just kind of tucked in a weird corner somewhere where you're not going to notice it. So, yeah, not too many people are going to use Qwilfish. It also didn't really need to be changed too much from its animal basis, the porcupine fish. There's also pufferfish, but those are a little different. Those don't have the spikes. So, it does pretty much what the original animal does. It's toxic, and it puffs itself up by inhaling a bunch of water, and therefore is kind of like, it can kind of scare away some predators, and if not, it can just kind of make itself bigger in order to poison them. So it works out fairly well. And the English name needs no explanation. Japanese name is Harrison, which is a shortened version of Harrisunbon, which just means porcupine fish. I find that kind of interesting because there was a character of the day in the anime that was named Harrison that actually used a Qwilfish, so that was kind of an interesting little nod there. And the unfortunate thing about all this, despite it, like, aside from it just being obscure and, like, ignored, is the fact that in the Gold Silver beta, it actually was supposed to get an evolution at one point. It was going to be named Shibirifugu, and it looks like it would be an electric type. So I guess it would go from water poison to water electric. And it's kind of weird because it almost looks like a halfway point between Qwilfish and Whiscash. It has like the lightning bolt on its head, just like Whiscash has that weird W on its head. I definitely would have liked to see that be a Pokemon. Not necessarily with the same design it has here, because this one's a little bit but I am assuming that if this thing actually had come out in 2000 and was part of the Pokemon canon ever since, I would have gotten used to it and accepted it. So, yeah, this is just another case of what could have been, and Qwilfish is just sort of the unfortunate, like, bystander that gets ignored. Okay, so I needed to bring Seaking with me, unfortunately, because I have to get up the waterfall, so I just went ahead and put Debbie in there. I wasn't sure which team member to not bring, but I figured I'm probably going to do at least a little bit of pre-Elite Four grinding, and Debbie is probably my strongest Pokemon, and has a type advantage against the stuff that I would find in Victory Road, so it would just kind of go the fastest to do that, plus it'll be more of a challenge to get through the trainers without my best Pokemon. But right now, we're going into a dead end that probably once had an item that I have already collected and forgot about. That does appear to be the case, yes. I think there's a couple new Pokemon on this route. Well, it's technically 2 routes. I want to say you can get Ponyta here, but I haven't actually looked at the encounters for the area, so I don't know that for certain. We're never going to be able to get there if I keep running into Tentacool every 5 freaking inches. Like, the Pokemon world has a serious problem with jellyfish infestation. Oh my god. Like, are you kidding me with this shit? Wow, what were they thinking? Yeah. What is this, Route 26, I think? I'm trying to, pull it up on my phone, but whatever. So, Tojo Falls. Home of a waterfall that doesn't do a whole lot. At one point, a moonstone that I think I've already collected. And also the point where Giovanni just kind of kills himself. Debatably. It's unclear if he actually dies. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure he doesn't, because he shows up in the Rainbow Rocket. But, I don't know. Pokemon Timeline's weird, because now it's gotten into multiverse theory, and... Maybe that's why there's so many legendaries running around. In one universe, the Beast Trio was, like, a resurrection from that Ho-Oh made, and, like, all this weird stuff. And in this other universe, they're random things that can just appear rarely. I see nothing wrong with that. Man, what a good area that was. I'm training on my own, without my Pokemon. I will beat them myself. Nothing like fighting a Bulbasaur after the 8th gem. I do remember this trainer. Which of the Kanto starters have we actually encountered? Because, I want to say there is somebody coming up that has... Well, I was going to say there was somebody who has all 3 of the fully evolved starters, but I don't actually think that's true. I'm probably thinking of Gen 1. Yeah, this person just has all 3 of the Bulbasaur family. Ice Punch is probably not actually the best way to go here. Let's switch out, why not? Here, I made it a point to bring you along. I will use you, even though you will probably not be that helpful here. Here, get attacked by a bunch of Razor Leaves. What's that? You're bleeding all over? Well, that's your own damn fault. I don't know, I'm just randomly being mean right now. That was a good growl. I know that if something went at me, I would definitely lose some of my attack power. And alright, yeah. No surprises there. I do like how, the Bulbasaur family, like, Bulbasaur itself in particular, is getting, like, this weird sort of resurgence in popularity many years later, because, like, Charizard and Blastoise were always the starters that everybody liked best, and Venusaur never really got a whole lot of attention. And, now on Reddit, you have all these people who are like, I'm gonna draw one Pokemon every day until I get through the whole Pokedex, and they stop after, like, 10. But that means you get a lot of Bulbasaur artwork, because they always start at the beginning, so you always get that one at least. I too know what it is like to have very lofty goals and then not meet them. I could say that about BA3. I am saying that about BA3. But more specifically, as a kid, I would do this shit where it's like, oh man, I want to make all 150 Pokemon out of Model Magic, and they'll be awesome. I'm gonna have them all lined up on my desk. I did like a half of one. Like, I did the same thing. There's like in Pokemon Stadium 1, there was this feature where you could just kind of like look at the Pokemon in a field and like rotate the camera around it, and I started to make the Bulbasaur, I'm like, you know, maybe not. Maybe this is gonna be a lot of work. What's your deal? Don't you give the Sandstorm TM? Probably has to be something with a lot of friendship. You've been with me for a long time. Yep, okay. Not that I particularly need the Sandstorm TM, but I'll get it anyway. I like how in Gen 4, they just randomly changed Sandstorm to increase the special defense of rock types. It was never explained that they did this. I think it was, like, quite a while before they actually, like, anyone noticed, but it's a thing. Yeah, I think the reason I was gonna do all the, like, model magic Pokemon stuff was because there was this mall that I went to. I believe it was probably Woodfield Mall, which was the same one that had the Mew event back in the day. There was, like, this entire store of just, like, random wooden carvings, and I think they had a Bulbasaur for some reason. I'm like, man, that's cool, I want to make all of them. And I'm gonna make them, like, in relative, like, accurate size to each other. So I'm gonna have, like, this big old giant Onix and little tiny Diglett, and it's like, yeah, that didn't happen at all. I would say that if this was Gen 3 onwards, Dig wouldn't work against Magneton, but no, it still would, because even though it's clearly levitating, it isn't actually levitating. It has to use a special move to levitate. I like Quagsire. Quagsire's a cool guy. I don't have any grass moves, do I? I do not. Let's throw a whale at it. By which I mean... So in the last video I said that, like, I don't remember what Steel's type advantages are. Like, I know what it's good against, but not what it's bad against. Water and ground are both types that I think it might be bad against, but I'm not sure. So, this could do any amount of damage. I have no clue. Let's just do Dig. I also don't remember if Rock is bad against ground. Oh shit. Advanced Tactics. Someone went to Earl's Pokemon Academy. Well, I guess I deserved that, but damn. I didn't expect that at all. Yeah, you do that. I wonder if anybody's ever tried to do a thing with, like, newer Pokemon using older game mechanics. I guess it wouldn't really make any sense, because, like, you would have newer Pokemon that specialize in, like, moves that didn't exist in Gen 1. But, like, seeing that thing use Amnesia, I'm just now wondering how good it... Like, how good would Quagsire be with Gen 1 Amnesia that is a +2 to both special attack and special defense? I like Execute's animation. Of course, when I was a kid, I had no idea that Amnesia was a good move, because it's a stat move. That's useless. Why would I spend a turn to increase my stats when I could spend that turn just killing them? I think, like, the only non-attack move that I ever used was Recover. Did I actually bring revives? I brought 3 of them. Man, I came super prepared. Alright, I say we fight another trainer, and, then head back. You're good, but I'm better. I was about to say that character looks like a, prototype Brendan from Ruby and Sapphire, and this guy's name is Brian, so that worked out fairly well. Yeah, we're dead. I forget if I've talked about that before. And there's the episode from the first season of Pokemon where they find the Bruno and the giant Onix. The, like, Onix is super pissed off and is, like, attacking everything, and the reason it's pissed off is because there's a Sand Slash just kind of stuck inside its body. And they pull it out, and it's like, Cliff! It has, like, the stupidest voice. I love that thing. It's not as dumb as the Persian from Go West Young Meowth. The one that's just like near. That one was pretty great.
My mind's made up, and you're not gonna change it. Huh?
I should probably establish if there are new Pokemon in this area. Okay, let's see if he guesses it. I'm guessing he probably won't. No, I was thinking about the metaphysical ramifications of banana! Gilbert, yeah, that's a psychic name. Or a name for a chicken nugget. Alright, I believe Starmie is asking to be Shadow Balled. I can sense it. Oh, wow, Tackle. Bringing out the big guns here. And it missed, too. One day I'll actually use a Starmie. It is a cool Pokemon. And it's pretty good, too. I've just somehow never gotten around to it. Is it sad that I actually kind of still want to play Let's Go Pikachu? And, like, would rather play that than Sword and Shield at this point? I don't know. Punch it in the face. When in doubt, just punch stuff in the face. It usually works. Okay. Did that pass on the confusion? If this thing doesn't die in one hit, we'll find out. It did. It passed the confusion on to execute. Man, that was a pro strat right there. We had one trainer who used Earthquake on the turn that I dug. And, like, I still can't believe that happened. And then we have this guy. And this is supposed to be the Psychic. Or, like I said, the Chicken Nugget. For the record, I'm not saying Chicken Nugget for no reason. That is a reference to something. It is up to you, the viewer, to find out what. Too much, man. There's a Pokeball down there. I think I can only reach it if I have Whirlpool, which I decidedly do not have. Can Seaking learn Whirlpool? If it can, I can get it. I think the rule of thumb is if it's a water type, unless it's like Magikarp or Feebas, it can learn Surf. But whether it can learn Waterfall or Whirlpool is pretty much random. Like, Seaking learning Waterfall makes sense, because, like, I mean, it's not a salmon. Salmon are the ones that go up waterfalls, so maybe it doesn't make that much sense, but we can pretend that it's a salmon. Whirlpool, I think it's just like you shoot out water quickly in the opposite direction to make the whirlpool go away. So, oh god, that was music. Theoretically, a lot of stuff should be able to use it, but... no. Seaking is incapable of doing such a thing. Alright, who do I have left alive? David is still level 33. We need to do something about that. I don't think I've seen the wild Pokemon in these parts. Also, can we take a second and analyze what's going on in this animation? Or, not this sprite. Is she tripping and dropping the Pokeball? Is she just leaping dramatically to one side onto the unseen cushions that will catch her fall? Like, I don't know what's going on here. More Starmie. Why do we have so many of these now? Yo, what's going on? They have a Pokemon based off a cherry now. What is it, the fruit Pokemon? I'm slightly preoccupied at the moment, trying to look up what's in the area. Let's see. Yeah, Ponyta is here, so is Doduo, and so is Sandslash. Wait, yeah. Yeah, those are... Wait, no, Sandslash is not here. Sandslash was here in Gold. There's a few things here I haven't gotten, though. I could catch them, or I could say screw it and get them next time. I think I'm probably going to say screw it and get them next time. Because even though this is not any kind of logical stopping point, I kind of just want to be done. We've made basically no progress, but with any amount of luck, I might be able to record another. I'm not even going to say that. That's a straight up lie, because every time I say that I might be able to record another one soon, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't. This one was put off for a number of reasons, and one of those was because I was having massive computer issues, and I've still yet to actually confirm that these computer issues are over. So I've been recording this for however long it's been going so far, and I am not actually 100% sure that it's even recording, so that would kind of suck if it wasn't. But yeah, we cleared out Route 28, or 27, or whatever it was. Yeah, we cleared out 27. We'll consider that a stopping point, even though it's just halfway through a route. I would say that we'd stop before Victory Road, but this is Gen 2, and Victory Road is just kind of like the interior of an IKEA. There's no trainers in it. It's just a straight path. So, maybe we'll do another one soon. We'll find out, but for right now, I think we're just going to kind of end on a random tangent about Suicune, and then possibly a picture of a Hideo, and then we'll just be done. Suicune is one of the 3 members of the legendary beast trio of Johto. There's no kind of official name for that trio, but Legendary Beast is the one that most fans go with. There used to be a very long-running debate over whether they were dogs or cats, and a lot of people would jokingly call them gerbils just to kind of not pick a side, but beast seems to be the generally accepted term. If I had to pick a side, I'd say that they're more similar to cats. Suicune itself kind of looks like a leopard or a cheetah, but they really are just sort of, like, fantastic creatures that take inspiration from a number of different sources. So Suicune itself, all the names of the 3 beasts are basically just the same as in Japanese, so they don't have any kind of English translation to them. Sui means water, and Kun means monarch, so pretty straightforward there, given that it is a legendary water type. And it's also possible that the name could come from Suisho, which means crystal, since it is the mascot of Crystal version, but it's most likely just the former. The abilities of Suicune are a little bit all over the place. The Pokedex entries and various flavor text will say that it's basically like an incarnation of the northern winds, which are mainly just known for kind of like signaling the start of winter, so just like cold winds. Even though it's not an ice type, it does sort of feature traits of ice types in a few different ways. It does learn some ice moves, but then again, a lot of water types do. And its mane also looks like the Aurora Borealis, which is frequently associated with like cold, snowy places. Plus, it has the whole ice crystal thing on its head and white diamonds on its pattern that kind of look like snow, so it's sort of like an honorary ice type. I imagine they just wanted to keep it a pure water to keep the trio all consistent. But it's also able to purify dirty water and can walk across water. So it just kind of has a bunch of various water and ice related abilities. Nothing really too amazing, but it is just kind of a base level legendary, not an uber, so that makes sense. They're not going to claim that it has like the powers that Kyogre necessarily does. But yeah, the trio as a whole was basically created by Ho-Oh by reviving the 3 Pokemon that died in the Brass Tower, with Suicune representing the rain that put out the fire afterwards. And possibly because of that, since the lightning that hit the tower and the fire that burned it were both destructive forces, whereas the rain was the one that basically, like, fixed everything, it is fitting for Suicune to be sort of the most peaceful and elegant of the 3. That's also probably why it's the most popular of them, at least from what I've seen, and also the reason why it got its own version and the other 2 didn't. Not really too much of a reason for that otherwise, other than just they needed a 3rd game and there wasn't another legendary other than Celebi, so they probably just decided to pick one of the 3, and Suicune was the most popular. The inspiration of this one comes most likely just from the Kirin, which is a general, just kind of Asian chimera-type creature. It's in Japanese and Chinese folklore, and probably a few other cultures if I had to guess. I haven't looked too much into it. They're kind of variable in what they can look like, but one of the depictions is of sort of a Chinese dragon sort of thing with a mammalian body. Can either look like an ox or a big cat or a wolf or any number of things. But one trait that they often have is a mane that kind of points upwards in the back, and that does resemble Suicune's big crystal horn thing. The Kirin is also possibly an inspiration for Arceus, which has the same sort of head shape, and probably even a couple other legendaries if I put the thought into figuring it out, but that seems to be the thing that most people say that Suicune's based on. Plus it also was said to be able to walk on water, most likely, there's a bunch of different myths behind this one. It really just depends on which culture you're looking at, but one of the things it could do was walk on water, and it's because it didn't want to walk on the grass because it didn't want to. It basically would not want to harm the grass. Like, it respected all life, including plants, so it would walk on water or fly through the clouds just to not really have any kind of like bad impact on anything. And I feel like this one's probably a bit of a stretch, but Bulbapedia also mentions that Suicune sort of has leopard spots, and Fujin, which is the Shinto god of wind, which Tornadus is based on, would wear leopard spots on it, and you could claim that they're related because they both have to do with the wind. I can't say it's impossible, but that feels a little bit of a stretch to me. It's most likely just sort of the Kirin, or really just a panther, cheetah, leopard, wolf, just kind of, I mean, some people do see a dog in this thing, so it could even be a wolf if you want it to be. It's just basically a quadruped. It's fairly slim and elegant looking, and it has an aurora mane and a big crystal and weird streamer things. It's a cool design. I don't mind it at all, but I will not claim that it's necessarily based on one specific thing. So lastly, as for its use in the games and just its competitive worth and whatnot, as I'll probably be talking about with future legendaries, legendaries tend to kind of be classified into a few different groups. You have your low-level legendaries, which are usually the trios and just kind of the ones that you'll find in the main story, but not like the box covers. Then you have your Uber legendaries, Uber mainly being a Smogon competitive term, but it's an easy way to categorize them. These are usually the box cover ones, the ones that have super high stats that are pretty much broken in competitive play. And then you have the mythicals, which are only available through events usually, or through side games. So Suicune's just a base level legendary, but it's definitely a pretty good one out of that batch. In Gen 3 in particular, I think it was one of the best Pokemon in the game. Mainly just because Water is already a pretty good defensive type, it only has 2 weaknesses, and Suicune has really high defense and special defense, so it was able to take a lot of hits pretty well, and it could dish out damage with just Surf and Ice Beam or Blizzard or whatever you wanted to give it, and if it wanted to, it could use Rest and basically get all its health back and stick around even longer. And then Gen 3 made things even worse, or better depending on how you look at it, when it gained access to Calm Mind, which is a move that would increase its both of its special stats 1 stage, so it could take hits even better and do even more damage in the process. Definitely in the overused tier for Gen 3. And looking very briefly at how it's performing currently, in the Gen 7 metagame, it seems to be in the underused tier. So not as great as it once was, but at least it's not as low as some of the other legendaries have been pushed. And it mostly seems to be good at just kind of keeping itself alive and causing... It's mostly just a defensive beast, is what I'm trying to say. You're not going to want to give this thing, like, 4 attacking moves and go all out with it. Its best form of causing damage seems to be with Scald, which also kind of fits with that because Scald can burn and kind of whittle away the opponent while you keep your HP up and boost your defenses and whatnot. But I'm not a competitive person, so I don't claim to necessarily know all that stuff. That's just sort of what I looked into. And that is Suicune. That's more than I planned to say about it, but I figured the legendaries deserved a little bit more discussion than regular Pokemon did.